Hi, my name is Jeremy Brunansky, and you're about to watch a brand new episode of Brunansky's Vlog. This is a weekly show that drops every Monday at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time on YouTube. In this show, we cover movie news, movie reviews, and a little bit more. If this is your first time with us, consider clicking that subscribe button. For everybody who's returning, thank you so much. And as always, if you enjoy any portion of this show, give me that thumbs up button. Let's go ahead and cut now to this week's episode. Good morning. It's Monday morning, which means it's time for another episode of Brunansky's Vlog. This is episode 18. If this is your first time joining us, thank you so much for stopping by, because every Monday at 10 a.m. PST, we talk movie news, movie reviews, and a little bit more. We got a lot to talk about this week in the news. We had one story in particular that may have broke the internet when that news dropped online, which I'm pretty excited to share with you. Also, don't forget we got the Murder on the Orient Express movie review that will be dropping later in this show. So if you're interested in seeing that, you may want to stick around. Finally, we got Certified Rad back, and it's a very touching and emotional story that may pull on your heartstrings. I can neither confirm or deny tears in the studio while I was recording this segment. All right, let's go ahead and cut to the news. We're going to get out of this intro so we can get into this week's show. This is episode 18. You're watching Brunansky's Vlog. Let's go ahead and roll now to the news. In the news this week, another actor has been cast in the movie Shazam. Asher Angel will be playing Billy Batson. Asher will be joining Grace Fulton, Mark Strong, and Zachary Levi on screen, with David F. Sandberg directing. It feels like for the last couple weeks, we've been talking about just one thing after another in a positive way about the Shazam movie. It feels like they're really starting to make some good progress, and they're really covering some ground when it comes to actually casting this out and making sure that everybody in line for this film is the right fit. This is really good news because we don't really know how everything is going to work out for the Justice League film, if that's going to be highly accepted by the fan base and the critics. But we do know that they had a smash hit with Wonder Woman. They were kind of okay with Suicide Squad up until, that last bit towards the end in the third act where it gets a little, So I like that they're paying attention to making sure that everything right now is lining up for this new Shazam movie. Because again, if Justice League doesn't knock it out of the park, we're all going to be kind of holding our breath to see how well Aquaman does. And if Aquaman is as good as Wonder Woman, or at least comparable in enjoyment, then I think that maybe the Shazam movie will fall in line there. And perhaps DC just needs to kind of move away from the bigger Batman and Superman stories for a little while and just kind of focus on side characters. And that's not to say that Aquaman, Wonder Woman, Flash are all side characters. But as far as the DC films go, from what they've been making, it's primarily Batman and Superman. So everything else and everybody else has kind of been on the sidelines. So that's what I mean by a side character. It feels like they're really putting in a lot of attention, and it's the right kind of attention to find the right people to play these roles to make it all work together. Because like I said, every week for the past couple of weeks, we've had some positive news about Shazam. So I think we can be excited about the Shazam film, even if Justice League bombs. So I'm strongly encouraging everyone to keep the proper mindset that even if Justice League is just a stink fest, we shouldn't let that stink waft over the other films. We should just go, okay, that was a bad film. Let's move on and let's get excited about Aquaman. Let's get excited about Shazam. Maybe we can get the Flash movie going, and then hopefully we'll get that Green Lantern Corps movie going. And then we can revisit the Justice League with fresh eyes, a fresh writing perspective, and just really deliver on something that will be what everybody who's a fan of the Justice League wants, and will excite a brand new fan base of Justice League fans if they can nail the second film after they get a good series of films under their belts, starting with hopefully Aquaman. Universal's Dark Universe is headed for dark times as Alec Kurtzman and Chris Morgan have departed the franchise, according to The Hollywood Reporter. Link for the article in the show notes below. So Universal had this great idea where they said, why don't we just use these monster characters that we have the rights to and make our own shared universe, similar to what Marvel did with the Avengers. So they brought out the big guns, right? They gave us the Mummy, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, Dracula. Now we're looking at Frankenstein, the Bride of Frankenstein. the Invisible Man, the Wolfman, Creature from the Black Lagoon. We have all of these great characters we can look at to see if we can actually get a shared universe going. So people like me who grew up watching these old black and whites and then eventually into color, these old monster movies on reruns, can get excited about something new. Now, I did see the Mummy movie with Tom Cruise and it was not a good movie. And that movie also did have Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde in it. So that movie was supposed to be the launch of the Dark Universe. That movie did not do well. It was a massive stink fest. That's going to be the word of this week's show. And it just didn't deliver at all. It felt like it had bits of like Brendan Fraser's The Mummy, but then it felt like just a Tom Cruise action movie. And then it felt like just this new interpretation of The Mummy. And it's just so much all going into this story and none of it gelled. It all just kind of... So they just kind of went, well, maybe we won't do it. Maybe we'll try with The Bride of Frankenstein. And then that kind of fell off the table for the time being. So now it looks like the two guys who are trying to spearhead this and really get something going for the old monster movie fans like you and I, it's just not going to work right now. And that's okay, because I've said it before about other films. I would rather have them hold off on a film if it means later they can deliver us a good film. I don't want a mediocre film. I don't want them to make a bad film. I want them to make great films that they're passionate about. And then when I sit down in the theater, it's just an overall positive experience. And I can just sit back and go, wow, they really did pay attention to the mythos of these characters. And they really gave us something fresh and something new. That is just such a better time in the movies than sitting there going, well, we've got to give them something, so this is what they're getting. And that stinks. Nobody wants that. And nobody wants to spend their time or their money on that type of delivery or on that type of product. So if they're pressing the pause button, if they're saying, time out, that's great. I would rather them do that and then come back to the drawing board, create something brand new that will work with the people that they have available to them right now that are hungry to tell these kind of stories, and then start working on those stories to deliver us this brand new dark universe that may actually turn out to be something wildly entertaining. Deadline's reporting a new film titled Luce has begun production in New York. The film stars Naomi Watts, Octavia Spencer, Tim Roth, and Kelvin Harrison Jr. The story is about an adopted African teenage boy who is a child soldier, but has been adopted and is now being challenged by a teacher regarding his views on political violence, which ignites debates on race and identity while also putting a strain on family bonds. Link for the article in the show notes below. The plot, the synopsis that I just read sounds crazy intense, right? Super drama. Sounds like you could really dig into hot button issues and really explore ideas to create an atmosphere that allows the audience to think possibly outside of their comfort zone in a safe environment. That's kind of what a movie can do. That's the power of film. You sit in the theater, you have a safe environment that you're in with fellow movie lovers, right? So everyone's there ready to enjoy the film, and then the film can deliver a story that challenges your way of thinking and can possibly even enlighten you. That's good writing, that's good storytelling, and that's what this film sounds like to me just from the synopsis. Now, I haven't seen a trailer or anything like that because it's not available. They just started production on this. This sounds really good. And this story in particular really spoke to me because when I was younger, we actually had foreign exchange students living with us when I was growing up, and they would tell us the stories about what they went through in their country growing up through a civil war and what their responsibilities were to protect their family during this civil war in their country. So when I read this, I was like, holy moly, flashback city. So having to explain this to someone who's grown up in American culture and American society with the freedoms that we have here and just how people have, houses with running water, electricity, cars, clothes every day, food every day, and then they're fighting a war in their town or in their country, in their city, and then they come here and it's like, guys, it's really not it's not as bad as you think here. You could be doing worse. So when I read that, I was like, wow, because you have the struggle of a teacher and a student. And there's always the possibility that the teacher might be like, what does this kid know? I'm the adult. And this kid's going, you've never lived through a war. Please let me tell you what's going on. Let me kick some knowledge your way and get you hip to the situation I'm trying to tell you. And I just loved it. I read this and I was like, I can't wait to see more about this movie. If the trailer delivers and it actually looks like the dramatic piece I'm hoping it can be, I will be Very excited to see this in the theaters. So fingers crossed when that trailer drops, it looks as intense and intriguing and thought-provoking as the synopsis leads me to believe it has the potential to be. Stay tuned to the show because we'll be talking more about this movie as more news drops. Disney and Lucasfilm broke the internet this past week when they announced that director Rian Johnson is getting a Star Wars trilogy after the work he's done on The Last Jedi. Last Jedi is set for theatrical release in the United States December 14th, 2017. Well, guys, if you are alive and breathing, which I'm assuming you are if you're watching this show. If you're a ghost and you're watching this show, come find me. We need to talk. If you're on the internet, you saw this news because it was everywhere. It didn't matter if it was a movie website. Everybody was talking about this. In my Twitter feed, my Facebook, even Instagram had like little meme stuff going off. This was everywhere. Why can we be excited about this? Here's why we can be excited about this. Star Wars The Last Jedi is set for release just a little over 30 days. Rian Johnson directed this film. That means the powers that hold the reins of Star Wars and the stories of Star Wars at Disney and Lucasfilm have seen this film in its final cut and went, wow, this is incredible. We need to get this guy on board for more Star Wars. That's really the only way I see this happening, that someone would just get the reins to create a brand new trilogy, is if they did such a phenomenal job and their vision for the story and for the overarching stories and the mythos of Star Wars and the grand scheme of this cinematic universe was so well thought out and so well constructed with so much heart and love and attention to detail and passion that they went, yeah, we got to get this guy. Sign him today. And that's really the only way I see this going. So as a Star Wars fan, my expectations for The Last Jedi were already like at 10 out of 10. Hearing this news, we just broke through that ceiling and now we're going, this is Spinal Tap. We've turned it up to 11. Now I already have my tickets. I got all my tickets for my family. So me and the fam, this is a Star Wars family. It's going to be a Star Wars event, and we are going to be there opening night. And again, my expectation went from a 10. We turned it all the way up to 11. We crashed through that ceiling. I cannot wait to see this film. This is such good news for us as fans. Even if you're not a Star Wars fan, this should excite you, because if you're going to go see The Last Jedi, which I assume you will, because you're human and pretty much everyone will see this film, it should still deliver on something that's going to make you a new fan of the Star Wars universe. You may be only a fan of that film, but that film is part of the Star Wars universe, and now you're part of the Star Wars family. So I think we can all be excited about this news. Congratulations to Rian Johnson for actually getting the green light, which is a huge honor, in my opinion, for Star Wars to be like, hey, we got so much faith in you, bro. You're doing this if you want to do it. And Rian Johnson went, I'm doing it. And then the rest of the world rejoiced, and the internet completely crumbled into a ball of glorious fire of people celebrating and dancing and singing Yub Nub, because that's what you do when you celebrate Star Wars. Honorable mentions this week include new movie posters for Black Panther and Deadpool were released. Suicide Squad 2 might include Black Adam. First look of Sam Jackson back for the movie Glass popped up online. Sandra Bullock is set to star as Senator Wendy Davis in the new film, Let Her Speak. The Academy announced 26 films were submitted for the Best Animated Feature category for next year's Academy Awards consideration. And that pretty much concludes the news segment this week. If you enjoyed any portion of it, please do give me that thumbs up button, because by clicking the thumbs up, it actually helps other people who enjoy movies and movie shows on YouTube find this channel so we can continue building the movie fan base and the movie loving community. All right, if anything popped off in the news that caught your attention that we didn't cover on this show this week, because there's always something that pops in the news, there's just so much happening, it's impossible to cover it all in one show. So go ahead and throw it in the comments below and share with us what excited you about movie news this past week, or even if something dropped this morning that we didn't get a chance to get to because we do pre-record this show. We're going to go ahead now and move into the movie review segment. I did have an opportunity to get out to the theaters to see at least one movie this week, so let's go ahead and cut to that review right now. After solving another case, the world's greatest detective is about to enjoy a brief rest as he boards a train headed to London, or so he thinks. And while on board, a murder occurs and everyone is a suspect. Detective Hercule Poirot must solve the crime before it's too late and the train reaches London. Does Murder on the Orient Express actually deliver on a thought-provoking whodunit murder mystery, or does the story veer off the tracks? Let's dive in and take a look in this review. First, this film asks a lot of us as an audience, and it doesn't give us a lot back in return. First, we're asked to believe in a French Sherlock Holmes that has a mustache that would have made Lemmy Killimuster jealous. Second, we're asked to tolerate one bad foreign accent after another. Third, we're asked to give another Johnny Depp performance another shot. And while he's not really in the movie all that much, the time he's on screen, he's actually still not really in this movie either. Finally, we're asked to invest and care about a group of strangers that we really don't get to know until almost the finale of the film. It's leading all the way up into the third act before we finally get a lot of backstory on who these characters are and why we should have been invested in them this entire time. The film's runtime is almost 2 hours long, so to go the whole time without actually getting a lot on the characters that we're watching on screen is a bit taxing. The overall story of this film isn't actually that much about the murder either. It's also not about all of the people on the train. The film itself primarily deals with the detective Hercule Poirot and his method of crime solving. There's a lot of really great cinematography in this too, with regards to angles and how they're actually filming different scenes. We have a scene that takes place on the train where the detective and one or two other people on the train are going through the cabin of the victim who was murdered. But instead of doing it with close-up angle shots to like show faces and everything else, they choose to do an above shot where it's actually looking down and you get to see them kind of moving through the cabin and like how everything looks almost as if you were playing the game Clue, when you look down at the board and you can see like how the room is designed, where everything is set up. So you actually get a sense of what the detective is looking at more than us looking at the detective. And there are certain moments like that throughout this film that I particularly enjoyed. Also, this story did feel similar to like the Robert Downey Jr. Sherlock Holmes films. That was a bit darker, it's a bit grittier. This film is a lot more lighthearted, the colors are a lot cleaner. There's almost like a bluish white tone to the film, just the way they shot it, just to kind of give it a cooling effect on our eyes when we're watching this film. I really enjoyed that aspect of it, a little lighter fare when we're dealing with a murder mystery, especially a classic story like Murder on the Orient Express. Overall, the talent and all of the actors in this film are grade A, except for Johnny Depp, who still struggles to find his voice in his particular role. Hopefully, whatever he's got coming down the pipe reinvigorates his acting spirit, because for the last couple of films he's been good, but it really hasn't hit home like some of his earlier work. But overall, as I stated earlier, we really don't get a lot of information on these characters, and the information we do get is very thin, it's very surface level, so it's difficult to invest our time and our emotion into these people and their motivations when we really don't get to know them that well from beginning to end. Murder on the Orient Express is in theaters right now, and there are so many other movies in theaters that you could go see instead of this that might be better served for your hard-earned dollars and your time. At best, this is just an okay movie. Like I said, you get surface level stuff on the characters, you don't really get a lot into their backstory. It's a murder mystery, but it's not a murder mystery in the sense of like a whodunit. It's a murder mystery, and then we're following one guy's methods to see how he does solve his crimes. Thankfully, Kenneth Branagh delivered as Kenneth Branagh always does in his roles, and that makes his time on screen as the detective enjoyable, and also the visual styles that he used when telling this story as the director, also enjoyable. However, the moral of this story was a bit confusing to me, because at the end, spoiler alert. Did I mention this is a spoiler alert? Spoiler alert. At the end, we find out that it wasn't one murderer, it was everybody involved murdered this guy. They all took their turn stabbing him to death. Pretty dark, right? So the detective offers one last shot for everybody involved in this murder by handing them a gun and saying, the only way you guys get away with this is if you kill me. They pick up the gun, they try to kill him, but then they find out that the gun wasn't loaded and it was all a ruse. The detective wasn't really interested in who killed because he had already figured out who had done the killing. He was more interested to see if this was a one and done deal. Were these people actually murderers, or did they just commit a murder and now they're going on about their lives? Because of the motivation that they all had to kill this individual who was played by Johnny Depp, he wanted to see if they were actually murderers and would they kill again, or was it just a one and done? They murdered the guy, they had reason to, and now they're moving on with their lives because they got closure. However, once he finds out that they would kill again, he just kind of goes about his day. I'll repeat that. He finds out these people would murder again because they would try to kill him, and then he just leaves the train. The moral of the story almost felt like if everybody's guilty, everything will be okay. Which was kind of weird, because the intro we see him setting up to stop the crime and to send the perpetrators to jail, and then at the end he's like, well, everybody's guilty, so I guess I can just go home. What? The ending made no sense. I was like, what? Wait, what? What? Wait, what? These people just tried to kill you, detective. And you're just like, yeah, I didn't want to go to London anyway. I'll go somewhere else. And he leaves the train. So Murder on the Orient Express is in theaters right now. If you want to check this film out, it is a well-directed film. The story doesn't really make sense by the end, and the characters are pretty thin. So I'm not going to recommend you spend your hard-earned dollars or your time on this film. Go see Thor Ragnarok instead. Murder on the Orient Express is getting 0 high fives from this guy. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at what movies are dropping at your local movie theater this weekend. Justice League, Wonder, The Star, Roman J. Israel, Esquire. All right, so not a bad weekend for films. We got 4 films that all give us something a little bit different, and they appeal to the majority of moviegoers and movie watchers, especially as we're approaching the holiday season. I'm gonna go see Justice League. I don't have the highest of expectations for it, unfortunately, with, you know, having to do all these reshoots, having to bring in a brand new director, and then having to do some rewrites and everything else. Like, there's just been a lot of turmoil in this film, but I'm still going in hoping that Joss Whedon was able to correct the ship and kind of fix and resolve all of the issues that he saw to deliver something that's still entertaining, but more importantly, well told. Because I really don't care if this movie is like a CGI fantastic fest. Like, that's okay. But as long as the story's good and it makes sense, I'll be happy. So that's kind of where my expectation is at, is I just want a story that makes sense, that's entertaining. Wonder, I think this film is gonna pretty much make most anyone get a little misty-eyed. Like, this is just like, even the most masculine of masculine men, I think, might get a little misty-eyed in this movie. This movie feels like it's really going to pull at the heartstrings. The Star, an animated Christmas movie, 3rd week in a row, right, for Christmas movies, because we had Bad Moms Christmas, Daddy's Home 2, and now we've got The Star. So that's 3 weeks in a row of holiday movies, Christmas movies leading into the Christmas season. If you have an interest in seeing that, check it out. Finally, Roman J. Israel, Esquire. Now, I'm a little late to the party on this because I didn't really start seeing marketing material for this until very recently. I've heard about this movie for a while, but I hadn't really seen any trailers or anything else, so I didn't really know, like, well, what is this movie? What is Denzel doing? And then in the last month, I started seeing trailer after trailer. I'm like, okay, this actually looks pretty good. Some of the quotes in the trailer are actually like well thought out, and they make me go, ooh, that was a really good quote. Like, that's definitely something I could put on a meme and throw online. So I'm pretty excited about this one too. So hopefully I can get out to see at least Justice League and Roman. Sound off below with your thoughts on which one of these films you're excited about. Let's go ahead and take a look at what's coming out on DVD and Blu-ray for your home theater. Atomic Blonde, Amityville: The Awakening, Nut Job 2, Nutty by Nature, Unlocked. So I saw Atomic Blonde and I had a lot of fun with this film. It was a very stylized, artsy spy action movie, and I definitely recommend you check it out now that it's available on DVD and Blu-ray. Charlize Theron kills. James McAvoy does a really good job in his role too, and it's just a lot. It's one of the most stylistic 80s films you'll see this year. Check this out now that it's available on DVD and Blu-ray, faux show. Nut Job 2, I'll go ahead and throw my review up here so you can check that out. And finally, Unlocked. Now, I didn't know what this film was, but I saw the cast on it, and I was like, oh, when did this come out? And I couldn't find a release date for America. It came out all in Europe and overseas. But then I watched the trailer. I was like, oh, this kind of looks like a different version of American Assassin. And I thought American Assassin was a fun action flick that people should go out and see. So I'm going to throw the link for the trailer down below so you can check that out. And now that it's available on DVD and Blu-ray, you can probably rent it and enjoy it at home. It's John Malkovich, it's Orlando Bloom, Michael Douglas. There's a lot of talent in this film, so I think it'll be entertaining, especially if you get it at Redbox for like $1, or you can stream it right to your TV from whatever video on demand service you use. All right, and now it's time for my favorite part of the show. You never know what's going to pop up, but we are definitely going to guarantee that whatever pops up is certified rad. This week, we're going to take a look at something that is both sad and uplifting. Stay with me. The story actually is about a boy with terminal cancer. Hold on, don't turn off the show just yet. It gets better. So this child has terminal cancer. His name, Jacob Thompson. His mom found out that he didn't have very long to live. So she goes on Facebook and says, hey, his last wish is to actually be able to celebrate his favorite holiday before the cancer completely takes him home. His favorite holiday is Christmas. His mom goes on Facebook and says, hey, can you guys send us handmade Christmas cards so that my son can celebrate one last Christmas before he goes. Initially, he received about 100 handmade cards, and then the story broke wide because the internet, and he has just been receiving cards upon cards upon cards. Now, ABC News, as I said, broke the story, so I threw the link in the show notes below so you can check that out, because they actually do like a little video to go along with it and stuff like that. It's a really heartfelt, touching story, and I'm gonna be honest, this hit me right in the feels. This was an emotional pull for me when I saw this. I was like, this is incredible. Not that the kid has cancer, that's terrible, but that the fact that people would come together like this to just help this kid like celebrate his favorite holiday one last time, and they're just sending all kinds of cards and everything else. It is tremendous. It warmed my heart, right? It punches me right in the feels, and it makes me go, okay, the humans are doing good things again. Good job, humans. Let's keep this momentum going and keep helping each other. Positivity is always the way to go. So thank you, humans. And I'm gonna throw up right here. I'll throw it up right here so you can see it. That's the address to where if you would like to send a card, you can do your own handmade card, and you can send it to this address right here, and it'll actually get that hopefully soon. So this, if you're watching this on a Monday, you might want to share this segment with your friends and family if they are into, people helping people, especially people trying to do a wish fulfillment. But this week's Certified Rad is going out to Jacob, his mother, and to everybody who has actually already been sending all of the support, love, and care his way while he is in the hospital. So from myself and Austin the dog, we are wishing you, Jacob, a very Merry Christmas. And everybody else, the address is still up here. Feel free to go ahead and send those cards out. And I'll be sending my card very soon. Hopefully everybody else will join me. Again, that address is still right here on the screen. So go ahead and send your handmade card to Jacob, and that way he can get his Christmas wish a little early, because that is definitely certified rad. All right, and that pretty much wraps up this week's show. Thank you so much for watching another episode of Brunansky's Vlog. We'll be back next Monday at 10 a.m. PST. And again, right after this, we're going to be going live on Facebook Live to cover the Monday box office report and maybe one or two news stories that drop Monday morning that we couldn't get to for this show. As always, I recommend that you follow us along on all the social media down below. FanFest was this past weekend, and so I was able to throw some photos up of the great cosplay that all of the cosplayers were doing at FanFest on the Instagram. So you might want to go check that out if you're into cosplay and everything else that goes along with costume design for Halloween or whatever. This is definitely going to be some photos that you'll want to take a look at, because the folks that showed up, they showed up. So definitely check it out. All right, we're going to go ahead and sign off now. And as always, if you enjoyed any portion of this show, please do give me that thumbs up because it helps like-minded people and movie fans to find this show. Also, don't forget to click that subscribe button because we are still trying to climb to that 100 subscribers mark and we're getting pretty close. So go ahead and click that subscribe button and that way you can make sure that you don't miss any future episodes or any special segments that drop coming down the line. All right, everybody, thank you so much for watching Brunansky's vlog. This was episode 18. We will see you next week for a brand new episode of Brunansky's vlog. And right now, we're going to be heading over to Facebook Live to do a live stream with you. So we'll see you on Facebook. Have a great week, everybody. See you on Facebook Live.